What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of It's Called Football, the Premier League podcast for Vendetta Sports Media, hosted by myself, Jerry Walker, and Jackson Fyda, as always. Jackson, before we get into this last week of Premier League action that included some European competition as well, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
Doing all right. Pretty tired. It's 6:30, but
Oh,
or
yeah.
6:45 at this point. But we're here. We're ready to talk some football. So it doesn't get much better than that.
No, not at all. One of the good things that we can both get up early to do. And
Yep.
whether it's talking it, watching it, early games aren't going to stop us at all. So we'll get right into it then. This past weekend, one of the big matches, Man United hosting Brighton, and boy, did Brighton have a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about them a little bit recently, and this game just kind of showed what we've been talking about. They are so good, man. They're good. All right, we'll talk about what happened yesterday a little bit later on because that was shocking. But in the Premier League, Brighton has been just incredible. They looked so good in this game. Danny Welbeck scoring the opening goal in his return to Old Trafford, which you love to see. And then Pascal Gross getting one, and then João Pedro getting one. They just looked dangerous the whole time. United, I don't know, they just looked like a shell of the United that the fans want to see. They have looked terrible. I think they look good in the Arsenal game. Apart from that, they've looked bad in just about every game.
Oh,
They
yeah.
looked bad in this game. Brighton looked the far better team throughout the match, and there's a reason they won 3-1.
Absolutely. And I mean, that first goal, as good as the finish was, I want to talk about just briefly that the thing that stood out to me was there was that cross over from Simon Andinga, but it was the dude who stepped over the ball, let it go through,
Mm,
kind of dummied the whole Man U defense, and then Welbeck was there just to slot it in.
yeah,
Great bit of heads up play by that. Then, I mean, you said Gross, Pedro, both of those were very good goals. Hannibal gets one back for Man U, but too little, too late, and that was a pretty good way to score your first goal for Man United.
yeah, it was g- good moment for him, but it's bittersweet because you just got run off the pitch.
Yeah,
So
at
to,
home.
to look at the stats a little bit, 57% possession for Brighton. That's getting in the territory of domination because usually that 60-40 is when you're like, all right, this one team's on top. So 57-43, you're like, one team is clearly better on the ball. To show a little bit more of that, 661 passes for Brighton, only 497 for Manchester United. That's a pretty big difference. Man, you did get more shots, but in terms of shots on target, Brighton doubled them 8-4. So Brighton not only had more possession, but they had more dangerous chances. They were just like we said, the better team. Deserby had them ready to go. Welbeck gets the opening goal, and that kind of set the tone for the match from there on out.
Absolutely agreed. And one of the things that I've seen, like, there's so many issues with Man U. We've mentioned it before on here. You aren't seeing any good news when Man United is mentioned. Whether it's players like Jaden Sancho and that stuff ongoing. Now there's anger about Harry Maguire still. And Andre Onana has looked not great since
Yeah,
signing in Manchester. It's everything goes from bad to worse, and that's something we'll get into a little bit later. But you have to think Ten Hag's on the hot seat at this point.
oh yeah. And I feel bad because I feel like a lot of it's not even his fault.
No,
Anthony couldn't do anything. Greenwood couldn't do anything. Sancho, sure, he could be. I mean, yeah, but like still, I feel like a lot of the off-field stuff right now he can't really control, but that is affecting United on the pitch as well. Forget who was talking about it the other day. I think it was Schmeichel. It's either Schmeichel or Thierry Henry, and they're just
mm,
talking about how devastating it is when you have all this stuff going on off the field to your on-field performance. So I feel like that's probably a huge reason why you have all these distractions going on. And yeah, right now United's just in the news for all the wrong reasons.
and it doesn't even end there. It's like there's all that stuff with their ownership of are they going to sell? I know the fans want them to, but they keep saying no, we're not selling. That just makes it look even worse for them.
Yeah. Everything they've got going on right now is just. I feel bad for United fans. I really do. McDonald's, man. So I'm loving watching this. This is
It's
awesome.
great. One of the few teams that you love to see this sort of stuff happen to. I guess it is unfortunate for their fans, kinda, but hey,
No. They're
there's
so
some right.
annoying.
Yeah. The, that them are Texas fans. Who are the more annoying fan base?
Ooh, dude, Texas is pretty bad. They think they're back now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still going United fans.
Yeah.
I
I
think,
agree.
yeah, United fans, Texas fans, oh man, that's a good shout.
They're very similar because they've been thinking they're back for the last decade, and
Dude, every year. Remember that one? Yeah, they beat someone else good one year and they're like, oh, we're back. Then they proceeded to suck.
yep.
I'm not gonna say anything about Texas till I see them win more than 6 games. I wonder if it'll be a Kansas effect like last year. That'd be funny.
Oh, it'd be great. I'm still curious. We're getting a little off topic, but curious about when they actually full time join the SEC next year.
I hope they get killed.
Something kind of related to both footballs is don't know if you saw the Mountain West Conference proposed a relegation and promotion style conference.
Wow. I did not see that.
Yeah, that was something I saw in the Vendetta Slack yesterday, which obviously, European football promotion relegation is a big thing. We've talked about it with how US soccer needs to do it, how the
Yeah.
US is potentially doing it. And now we might see it in college football. I want to say it was the Boise State athletic commissioner proposed this idea of, okay, so for football, we can do this like 3-tier system of teams kind of making up of the Pac 12, Mountain West, the American Conference for football. Then, meanwhile, all these teams will still play their regional schedule in all the other sports like basketball, soccer, water polo, whatever it is. I think that's kind of a really interesting thing to think of because college football would probably be a good place for it to happen because promotion and relegation is a big thing.
I've been saying for a while, I think the model we should go to at this point is football does its own thing and everyone else does more regional conferences. There's so much money in football, and honestly, I don't let them do their own thing at this point. But the rest of us, we kind of need our college education. Yeah, I mean the football players do too, but I mean when you're getting NIL deals like some of these guys are getting, you get a nice little head start in life. So the rest of us really need that education. So we're more adversely affected when my friend at Rutgers has to go play a game at UCLA for a conference game. So that's crazy though. Promotion and relegation in college football.
That would be
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I honestly am also. I think it's kind of been leading that way anyway with super conferences coming into play. Maybe you have a couple big conferences and then a feeder more or less. But who knows? Back to proper football. Man City, West Ham. West Ham got out to a lead and they were playing pretty well for the majority of that first half, but didn't take long in the second half for Man City to strike back. Only a matter of seconds before Jeremy Doku got the equalizer. Bernardo Silva had a great little dink over the goalkeeper, which props to Holland on that one for not tapping it in and claiming the goal. He wanted to, you could see it, but he stepped back, let Silva get his first goal of the season. And sure enough, Silva repaid the favor by assisting Holland for Man City's third goal. Pretty big statement win for Man City there, make it 5-5. Nearly looking like the best team in England.
I was feeling confident, man, for West Ham because I saw they got the goal, and I was like, they look good when they counter, and right now they look solid defensively. Like this could happen. It's at West Ham. They've got the energy. Ward Prowse finished off a really good cross. I mean, that was a great little ball. And then
diving header.
Yeah. Second half, though, City kind of just blew them away. Whatever Guardiola said, it worked. I mean, 3 goals, 3-1, confident win. I mean, obviously, we knew they're going to dominate the possession. We knew they're going to dominate the shot count. But yeah, they just took it to him. And Holland to be fair, Holland should have had an equalizer in the first. I was shocked he didn't put that one away, the tap in that was cleared off the line when it came off the underside of his boot. I was shocked when that didn't go in, but I felt good for West Ham. I really did. I felt confident. I thought they looked strong, but second half they just got obliterated. Man City did what it did, and it got the job done.
Really did. And one guy that was key for that Man City comeback, who I think is probably one of the more underrated players on not only the City team, but maybe the whole Premier League, is Julian Alvarez.
Oh, yeah.
2 assists in this match. We saw, which we'll get into some of the Champions League action. He had 2 goals in Man City's come from behind win there. He just seems to be doing everything well for Man City. Got the goal against Newcastle, scored against Fulham. He's been a very, very underrated player this season, and I think he's been very essential in Man City winning their first 5 matches.
Yeah. It's that partnership between he and Holland up top right now is so deadly. We saw it in the Champions League, which we'll touch on a little bit, between the two of them working together. But we were wondering how Alvarez would fit in the City's future with Holland there. And Guardiola's decided just to go 2 up top, let Holland still be the goal scorer he is, but those two can work together now in ways that are terrifying.
Yeah.
So that striker partnership right now, yeah, it's good. And imagine if they keep it going for a few years, because they're both young.
I mean, that's the issue. Is they're both so young.
Mhm.
They could stay there for probably another 6, 7 years together and just dominate.
Yeah.
We were all talking about earlier on in the season, first week, Kevin De Bruyne leaves injured. Julian Alvarez is fitting perfectly as that playmaking guy, kind of that false 9 almost, I'd say, where he's not quite running the attack, but he's running the show, it seems. And he's that perfect connection between the midfield right behind Holland, like you were saying. 2 of them have been on form, and I think this just shows how good the depth of this Man City team is, because he wasn't necessarily playing before De Bruyne got hurt.
Yeah. But now he's just taken his opportunity and he's really run with it. And I'm going to say props to Holland. I feel like a lot of top strikers wouldn't let another player play with them. They want to be the guy. He has taken this partnership with Alvarez as well, and he's running with it. And he's still scoring, and he's providing as well now. So props to Holland for that, because, again, I feel like a lot of top strikers would refuse that, or at least would fight that if they had a say in it. So, Jesus Christ. I'm getting it's like 7 a.m. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so props to Holland for that.
Absolutely. I mean, like we said, Man City through 5 matches, perfect. The only remaining perfect team, I guess. There's a couple that have no losses yet, but Man City, 14 goals for, 3 goals against. Is anyone going to be able to catch them this year? Or do you think this is the start of just an incredible domination of the season?
They look better this year than they did last year.
Yeah.
At this point. Granted, you want to finish strong. So you wonder, it's kind of rough to say because it's City. But like Arsenal last year came out of the gates firing and then crumbled at the end. Not saying that'll happen to City, but
it could.
It could happen. You want to finish stronger than you start. We've seen that recently. We've seen City catch teams like Arsenal and Liverpool towards the end of the year. So if there's any hope, that's the hope, is that they'll crumble. But I don't know. I was hoping with De Bruyne out, maybe we could see a little dip. But right now, they just look so solid. Granted, they haven't played like anyone that great, bar Newcastle. But
even that Newcastle hasn't looked great this year.
Yeah, so I guess you don't want to like get carried away, but at the same point in time, it's City, so it's kind of hard not to get carried away.
And you have to beat those lower teams. That's what makes a championship team or champion level team different than the just fighting for the top 6, 7. Is you go out and you do batter all these smaller teams and take advantage and get your 3 points instead of maybe 1 here and there.
Yeah.
But Want to talk one more match from this past weekend, and will lead us kind of into our one of the teams in our match of the week upcoming, Tottenham and Sheffield United. What a crazy game that was.
Yeah.
Tottenham ultimately winning 2-1. Sheffield United got the goal to take the lead. Hammer bounced it off the post right behind the Tottenham goalkeeper. Couldn't do anything about it. Gives them the 1-0 lead, 73rd minute. Everything then changed when Richarlison, of all people, gets brought on as a sub in the 80th minute alongside Perisic. 98th minute, he gets the goal
What
to
a
equalize it. And what a header off the corner. Just
header.
that's the perfect set piece situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nothing Sheffield could have done about it. Perfectly placed ball from Perisic. All he had to do was tap it home with his head, and sure enough, he did that. Then 2 minutes later, we're now in the 100th minute of regulation, which that's a different thing I'll ask you about in a second. But Richarlison finds Kuleveski, and sure enough, Tottenham gets the 2-1 lead. What a crazy comeback, and gives them great momentum ahead of the North London derby this week.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. As soon as they got one, I'm like, they're getting two. You just could feel it, and then they got it very quickly. Again, huge for Richarlison. He needed that so
Yes,
badly. He needed that so badly, and he scored not just a goal, but a very good goal, great header goal. So that's going to give him so much confidence. And like I said, once you get the first one back, you just had a feeling. You just had a feeling, and they got it. Kulusevski left. Who was in goal for United? Sheffield United. He left
West
Fotheringham just standing and just put it right to his right. Easy enough. 2-1. And then you're like, there it is. There it is. Sheffield United it was exciting because you're like, there you go. 90th minute, 1-0. They just got to hold off for a few more minutes. Then you get the massive amount of stoppage time.
which
And you're like, all right, keep going. But again, as soon as you get that one, you're like, they've got time for two. And you just knew it was coming.
it kind of seemed like it was all of Tottenham's hard work throughout the match paid off because looking at the stats, it wasn't even remotely close.
No.
70% possession for Spurs, outshot Sheffield United 28-7 with 10-5 shots on target, nearly doubled them in pass or over double them in passes, 620 to 269. Just it was domination from Tottenham. It was kind of amazing they couldn't find the back of the net sooner. What are your thoughts on this? Like they ultimately ended up playing into the 116th or 106th minute, which that's insane amount of stoppage time. I know they said they were going to keep adding more on, but this seems ridiculous.
Yeah, dude. We've been talking about it. I feel like there's a happy medium we need to reach here
Mhm.
because when you're a player, you're just trying to get to 90. Mentally, you're just trying to get to 90. And then you suddenly see that you got to play another 10, 12 minutes. That takes a huge toll on you. So it's the physical aspect and like we've been saying, the mental aspect as well. So I'm not a huge fan for the plus 10s, all that kind of stuff. Give me plus 6. That's fine. But I don't know. Unless there's like like a serious injury or some weird kind of situation,
Full on bench clearing brawl.
yeah, you shouldn't see 10 minutes of stoppage time.
No, not at all. It's really kind of ridiculous. We saw it at the World Cup as well. They were getting 14, 15 minutes. And like I said, it's just that extra fatigue that's not necessary, especially for some of these teams that have to play midweek matches, whether it's Champions League, Europa League, Conference League this past week. Upcoming, I know we have the EFL Cup midweek at some point soon. So it's just an extra toll that players don't necessarily need to have.
Yeah. Yes. I still found it crazy that they tried that out for the first time at the World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
I still think that was absolutely ludicrous, but I don't know, man. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think if you're going that route of playing more minutes, then you should. Why wouldn't you just stop the clock? Otherwise, just let it be the way it is. Like I get you trying to get the fans more action. That's what it is. That's what it really is. They're
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to get the fans more action, but it you got to find the happy medium, and they haven't found that right now.
No, they have not. It's absurd when it's that much. Makes for moments like this very, very exciting.
Yeah,
If you're, say, a Tottenham fan, but if you're a Sheffield United fan, you're like, damn, why was there so much time? We were gonna win this game, and then it got out of hand and ultimately drew it or
yeah.
lost it. Right. Any other Premier League matches from this past weekend that you want to touch on? Anything that you saw that interested you?
Burnley finally got themselves a point, so
Yeah.
well into them. Um, apart from that, I mean Chelsea just terrible, absolutely terrible.
Yes, they were.
Arsenal finally got a win at Everton, so I was very stoked on that. Yeah, that was basically it.
Yeah, now the next big question is when is Luton going to get their first point of the season?
Dude, I don't know.
Because it doesn't look very pretty. I mean, at home to Wolves, Wolves haven't looked great, so maybe there's a shot there. Home to Everton, at Burnley, or at Everton, home to Burnley. So
Yeah.
maybe coming up, they have their opportunity.
You hope, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's a shocking return to reality for the Luton Town faithful.
Yeah.
But moving on to some of the midweek action, it was Champions League, Europa League, everyone's favorite Europa Conference League. We'll start with the Champions League. 4 Premier League teams playing in it. Who impressed? Who disappointed? I know one team that we've already talked about that disappointed pretty much. Man United
Hmm.
losing 4-3 to Bayern Munich, and that game wasn't as close as the scoreline said.
No, not even close. It was complete domination for Bayern. Onana, dude, shaky. I mean, that goal was terrible.
Yep.
He's got to figure that out. But yeah, it was domination for Bayern from start to finish. Casemiro made it a game at the end, but Bayern were the better team by far, and that's concerning for Man U because they really got played off the pitch. I don't care that it finished that close; they got played off the pitch. So terrible start for them. Great start for Arsenal. I think they had the best start for sure. 4-0 against a tricky PSV team who they struggled with last year in the Europa League. So great start for the Gunners. And then you're looking, Man City was down.
Yeah.
This was shocking. They were down to Red Star Belgrade at first. Obviously, their class came through and they won 3-1. But that wasn't the start you'd want.
No.
And that's still good. They got the win. They won by 2 goals. And then Newcastle Milan was a pretty.
I would say Milan dominated that and were probably unlucky to not get a result from it.
Newcastle didn't look quite ready to go
Mhm.
in their first European match in a while. So you'd have to say they're below where they want to be. But they did pick up a point and they did get a clean sheet. So that's something to consider. So yeah, definitely in terms of order performance, Arsenal, City, Newcastle, Man United.
Yeah.
Most people could pick that out, but yeah, that's what it is.
I would agree with you because, I mean, looking at the Arsenal, PSV was a Europa League semi-finalist last year.
Mhm.
Did just looked great all season in Europe last season. Them and Sevilla just seemed to take over when it comes to the Europa League time. Newcastle, like I said, I thought they kind of deserved to lose that one. They looked a little in awe of the San Siro and everything going on. Hearing the Champions League anthem, you could see the players kind of looking around like, oh, this is finally a reality. Don't necessarily want that, especially in that group where PSG took care of business of Borussia Dortmund. It's going to be a tough sailing, I think, for Newcastle. Man City, yep, gave up that goal right before halftime, which another one, second match in a row they've gone in down 1-0 at the half. Pep's probably ripped him a new one. And first match over the weekend against West Ham, it took less than a minute. This time it was less than 2 minutes for them to get level. So class is just showing. I'm not too worried about them. I think they're a group with young boys, and RB Leipzig should
Yeah.
be top of that one.
Dude, RB Leipzig's good, though.
Oh, they are.
Openda and Xavi Simons are damn good. So don't count out something fun happening there. But yeah, City should take care of the group.
But then the Man U one, that was fun to watch, especially seeing Harry Kane get a goal against a team that was trying so hard to sign him over the summer.
Yep.
Højlund also getting his first goal. And I'll say that's something we didn't talk about necessarily with that Brighton Man U match, but he scored a goal in the 11th minute. Rashford had the ball go out. I think it was the right call. A lot of angry fans, but I don't see how it gets that much better. Because it's not like that's an easy group when you look at it. That Copenhagen and Galatasaray match was a thriller.
Dude, yeah.
Copenhagen was up 2-0. Galatasaray had an 86th minute and an 88th minute goals to equalize it. You don't want to have to go to Turkey to play to keep your Champions League life alive, because that Galatasaray fan base, there's some talented players, but their fans are it's welcome to hell. That's what.
Yeah. And I talked about this when I did the Champions League like recap on one of those posts, or like the group stage recap. They've got Icardi up top, Mertens behind him, Ziyech on the right. They've got Lucas Torreira on the midfield, Muslera in goal. And then on the bench for this game, they had Wilfried Zaha, Tete, who's a very good player, Tanguy and Damale. On the bench, Davinson Sanchez as well. They've got good players with Premier League experience as well. And when you have to travel all the way to Turkey and, like you said, play in front of those fans, it's going to be a tough game. I was shocked that Copenhagen played the way they did. Obviously got the red card, still managed to tie 2-2 with Galatasaray. So I was a little surprised by that. But if you're United, you got to be ready to go in those games, because Galatasaray's got some ballers and Copenhagen just showed that they can play. So
absolutely. And I mean, looking ahead, Man U's next Champions League one is home to Galatasaray, home to Copenhagen. So that's the issue, though. You have the two home matches against the lesser sides in the first half of it. Then you have to go to Copenhagen and finish going to Galatasaray and home to Bayern Munich. If they need 6 points from those last two to secure safety, I'm not sure they get it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but not the start you want if you're United.
No, not at all. Europa League, there were some exciting matches there for the Premier League sides. Brighton's in it, West Ham's in it, Liverpool's in it, and Liverpool, start with them, came back from 1-0 down as well, ultimately getting a 3-1 win over why am I blanking on who the hell they played? Lask, yeah, that's right. But I don't know. Yeah. I feel like Liverpool should have won that. They were supposed to win that.
Yeah.
Just the first start.
Yeah, Nunez scored a pen, so that's good for him. And Salah got the final goal. I think it was Luis Diaz who got the second. But yeah, kind of a similar situation as Manchester City, except they were on the road. But they got it done 3-1, so can't really argue with that. And we're looking, West Ham, dude, was down for a while. That one looked like it could be fun because they were down at home to Baka Topola, Serbian side, I think.
Yep.
And then, yeah, they kind of went off at the end. Own goal kind of got things going, and then Kudus and Suchek, so they got a win. So,
and it was even that own goal. It seemed like Mohamed Kudus forced an error, and ultimately the ball went in the back of the net, which doesn't matter how it gets there. If you're attacking, you just want it to find the back of the net, whether it's you're scoring an own goal, whatever it is.
Yeah. So good start for them. Both those teams, Liverpool, West Ham, good starts. Team that had a bad start was Brighton. 2-3 loss at home to AK Athens. And we talked about earlier how good Brighton has been, and they just got beat at home by a team from Greece.
Yep. We'll say it wasn't exactly their top team, but still, you expect to beat any team in Greece if you're a Premier League team. Nothing against the Greek league at all. Athens is constantly making Europa League or Champions League. Panthiakos making it, Olympiakos. So there are some good teams in Greece, but it's just you'd expect this team to win. Brighton would to win. But Ansu Fati's first start for Brighton, so
yeah, it didn't go the way you wanted, but
no, it did not.
yeah.
I mean, that was another
European competition though is stuff
yeah.
that's happening. So you just got to recover and then go from there. I mean, we see Roma and Mourinho get out of the group after losing 7-1, 7-0 at Bodo Glimt. So
Yeah.
just crazy stuff sometimes in the Europa League.
I mean, it was Ezekiel Ponce who had spent time playing in La Liga, who got the winner in the 84th minute, and it's not the end of the world for Brighton, but they have a very, very, very difficult group.
Yeah.
And this puts them behind. They have Marseille and Ajax as well. Both of those teams could very well win and finish ahead of the Seagulls. So it's going to be an interesting ride for Brighton's first European competition in a long, long, long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Other one, the UEFA Conference League team who played in that is Aston Villa, and they too disappointed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, who were they playing again?
They were playing Legia.
Oh, Legia Warsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3-2 loss to the Polish side. At least they were in Poland, so give them a little bit of a break. But yeah, not what you want at all. 3-2 because they're from the Ekstraklasa. I don't think I even said that right. The Polish league. So you got to beat teams like that all the time. But they go down 3rd minute, get a goal back, then go down again the 26th minute, get a goal back, and then go down the 51st, and that was the game. Dominated possession, dominated shots. I mean, shots on target was actually equal. But yeah, not a good start for Villa.
No, it's one of those ones that you would feel confident. I think we both had Aston Villa being a top level team this year, not like maybe Champions League tier, but that next Europa League or Conference League again this upcoming season. And they've looked a little shaky thus far. And this is just another example of that. I think they should be fine. They've AZ Alkmaar, the Dutch side, and Zrinski Mostar, team from Bosnia and Herzegovina, as the other two in their group. So you'd like their odds to get out of this, but not great starting off with a 3-2 loss, even if it is on the road.
Yeah, definitely should do better, but they'll be fine.
Yeah. Now looking ahead at this weekend, we're going to go into our match of the week. And Jackson, I think it's pretty straightforward, this one. The North London derby, Tottenham, Arsenal, 2nd versus 4th in the table. More or less, it's all goal difference separating them. From the Arsenal side of things, what are you thinking? What are you looking at? Because it's going to be interesting. And Martinelli might not be playing.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I don't mind Trossard again, so we'll do. What I'm going to be curious to see is what continues going on in between the sticks. David Raya starting the Champions League game was kind of surprising me. I thought we were going with a goalkeeper rotation. I think a lot of people thought that was the move. But then David Raya kept his spot. So it looks like Arteta's favoring David Raya right now. I don't know if something happened in training. I don't know if it's just overall looking shaky enough in games, especially on the ball, that has convinced Arteta to do this. But yeah, David Raya or Aaron Ramsey, I'm curious to see that. That's going to be very interesting. I think he's going to stick with David Raya. He's got 2 clean sheets. Why would you switch?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know? And you can play out the back better than Ramsdale can. So I think he's going to stick with David Raya at this point. And it's his spot to lose now. So that's honestly what I'm most curious to see. But talking about the game itself, It is at the Emirates, so that should give us a boost. Tottenham's been damn good, though. James Madison can create. Richarlison just scored. So wonder if that'll carry over. They just look good when they play. Tottenham does right now. Postecoglou has them doing great stuff. They just got a hugely motivational, like, what a word I'm looking for. A result that will just build confidence.
Inspirational.
Yeah, there you go. A result that's going to build serious confidence as they move forward. So I wonder if they're going to ride that in against us. Vicario, I think, looked pretty good in goal. I think he was a very good signing for as cheap as they got him.
Yeah.
So he's done really well. And then you have Son. Does look good. Van de Ven and Romero partnerships look pretty solid for the most part. So Tottenham's got a good side. I do think Arsenal will take this.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we'll take it. I want Nketiah starting up top still. Personally, he won't, but I think he'll go with Jesus. But I wouldn't mind Nketiah starting up top because I think he's done enough recently. Even if he isn't scoring all the goals, I like what he does up there. I think we will win a very close game. I'm going 1-0.
All right. I don't hate that pick. I know Tottenham, on the other hand, are going to be looking to get back because last season was the first time since, I want to say, the 2013-2014 season that a team swept the North London Derby. Arsenal won both. 3-1 at home, 2-0 on the road, and it didn't look like Tottenham had anything close to the level of play that Arsenal was at. But as you said, Tottenham have looked very different this year, and lack of Harry Kane might be helping them. Heung-min Son still hasn't quite gotten back to everything, but the addition of James Madison has been huge. I think the big scare for Arsenal more than anything is what will happen with the injuries and how will Tottenham's defense be able to handle what maybe makeshift attack is thrown at them, maybe one that they aren't necessarily prepared for as much as, say, the team you'd be prepared for if they were going full strength Arsenal.
Yeah.
Thing that shouldn't have to deal with all that much, but something to definitely keep an eye on. Also wondering if it's going to be beneficial for Tottenham. They didn't have to play a midweek Champions League match or Europa League or whatever league. They've had that full week off since playing Sheffield United. Can now put that in the rearview mirror. Great win. Way to come out. Close it out strong. Come back. Now focus and turn your attention immediately onto Arsenal, who it's gonna be a fun match. I'll tell you that much. I do agree with you. I think Arsenal gets it done if there's gonna be a winner. I think this match ends as a draw. I'm gonna go 1-1 with that, but if anyone's gonna win, I think it'll be Arsenal, mostly due to that home field advantage and Tottenham's lack of goals at times.
Yeah. But, yeah, like you said, going to be a great game.
Oh, yeah, definitely worth watching. 9 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. I know I'll be up for it. I'm sure you'll be up for it.
That's going to be the day after my game. You damn right I'm going to be up.
Oh, easy, man. Otherwise, honestly, Jackson, there's not a ton of great matches this weekend. Another one I do want to touch on briefly, Liverpool and West Ham. What are you expecting? Liverpool's looked pretty good. They're right in that third place spot. West Ham obviously lost 3-1 this past week. Who gets it done?
You got to back Liverpool. At Anfield, they've got confidence right now. You got to back them. West Ham, we'll see how they react to last week's defeat. I mean, they did have the game at home in the Europa League, so I guess they did already have a chance to react, and they got the win. So they'll be riding that momentum rather than the loss to City's momentum. So that's a good thing for West Ham. I think just going to Anfield right now with how Liverpool's playing, it'll be Liverpool. Liverpool by a couple goals. They're looking good right now. I think it continues in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. 3-1 has been the magic number for these two teams the last few matches. Liverpool won 3-1 against Wolves last weekend, won 3-1 against Lask this week. Man City beat West Ham 3-1 and then West Ham won 3-1, so I'm going with a Liverpool 3-1 win. Just
Yeah.
seems logical. Seems like it's well, now that I've said that, it's probably going to be like a 1-0 or a 4-0 win, but I do think Liverpool gets it done. Darwin Nunez has, I'll say, since Marcelo Bielsa took over Uruguay, and apparently he sat him down and spoke to him went through a lot of game footage. He seemed like a completely different player since that first international break. Starting to score more, look a little more confident, and that's a very big boost for a Liverpool side that has Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, who's so at times, but
Yeah.
still a very strong team.
Yeah. And I mean that's huge for them because if you get Nunez scoring, he's always in the right position. He just can never actually finish. That's his biggest problem. So if he can actually get that part of his game figured out, he's going to be very good. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and he's been playing well for them recently. So you wonder if that's going to actually pan out in the long term.
Yeah, I will say West Ham's, at least in my eyes, their way of winning is controlling that midfield, and I think they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just be interested to see if Jared Bowen's playing, James Ward-Prowse, obviously Thomas Suchek, Luis Paqueta. We've talked endlessly about how good this midfield could be. You now throw Mohamed Kudus in there as well. It's going up against like a very disappointing Liverpool midfield that's done pretty well so far, but it's not exactly like the midfields we've seen in the past. Last weekend, for example, Curtis Jones, Alexis McAllister, and Dominic Soblitsa.
I was like, yeah,
I was like, I'm never gonna get his name.
he'll get it one day.
I'm just gonna give up in Dominic. But
Dominic
like that midfield doesn't seem nearly as good as the one of West Ham. At least just looking at it, I think that's the only way West Ham can really get anything done here is if they control the midfield. Don't let Liverpool get out on the run and get in transition because that's where they will really make you pay.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I just don't think they're going to get it done.
No, I don't. I don't
So,
either.
yeah, Liverpool.
Two teams that I want to just touch on these ones briefly. They both need to get it done and ASAP. Chelsea, Man United. We've talked a bit about Man United and all their chaos, losing to Brighton,
My God.
losing to Bayern Munich. But this week they play away to Burnley. Chelsea are home to Aston Villa. Who needs to win more, and who's more likely to get that win?
You'd have to say Chelsea, but then again, it's actually no. What am I saying? You have to say Man. Sorry, you have to say Man United because they're playing Burnley. Sorry, early still
No,
because they're playing Burnley. So you're like, it's got to be them, and I think they will get the win because Burnley has been very disappointing.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be, I don't know, competitive. They have not been competitive, even though they got the draw. They have not been competitive. So Man U should definitely be the team to get the win because Chelsea's playing Villa, and Villa is still a very good team. Not having quite the year they want to have, but it's still early. Chelsea's looked awful, so that one could be a Villa win, honestly. So I think Man U gets the win. Chelsea, I think the best they do is draw. So I think Man U's fortune is going to be easier to turn around than Chelsea's for sure, though.
I agree. So I think, with that being said, I do think that puts Chelsea kind of more in that hot seat. Eric Ten Hag, definitely on the hot seat, especially after these last two results and not an overly good-looking season thus far. But Mauricio Pochettino comes in. They kind of it's Chelsea. We've talked about as well how much money they've just thrown around. Bring in Poch, expecting him to kind of suddenly turn the team around, and he hasn't been able to do that so far. They have not looked good either in any of these games.
No.
Probably one of the most boring sides so far in the Premier League. Drew with Bournemouth, lost to Forest recently. Their only win was against Luton, who, as I said earlier in the show, Luton's the only team without a point.
Yeah. So kind of hard to hype that one up, but they were doing that. Oh
yes, they were.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Chelsea's got a lot of stuff they need to figure out, and I don't think they get it figured out right now. I don't know, dude. They just ever since the takeover. I mean, I don't know.
No, it really has been since Bowley's come in and just kind of thrown money at anything that can kick a ball. As long as it's over like 60 million, then they've been doing whatever they can and bringing whoever in. It just doesn't look good. They have a tough one, obviously, home to Villa this week, who Villa had that shaky Europa Conference League match this week. They'll be looking to bounce back. Maybe that's going to be a benefit to Chelsea. Had to travel from Poland back to England. Maybe we'll see. Still 4 days off or 3 days off in between. But that could take a toll.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, Villa have been looking a little bit better. And then Chelsea have to play home to Brighton in the Cup next week. I don't know. I think they're in trouble.
You do.
I think Chelsea might be in trouble at the moment.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Pochettino gets sacked if results don't start going their way just because they expect to win and he'll be the scapegoat,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's been only a short tenure.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, dude. Our practice is everything's getting changed. I'm getting bombarded with messages right now. We got time. That's all you gotta know. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think honestly, do you think he's the first one to get the sack? He's got to be up there in terms of likelihood.
He does have to be, mostly because of that pressure on him. Like they could go and win a match, and then maybe maybe. Like, there's teams who you'd expect to sack their manager at some points: the Burnleys, the Evertons, the Sheffield Uniteds, Luton potentially. But this one seems like it's most likely. Like, those teams don't expect to be good. Chelsea's expecting to be good, and they're not performing. That's what I think. Like him and Eric Ten Hag, because it was all this the Ten Hag project. They're cooking last year, finally got back to Champions League, and they've looked very, very bad so far this season. Even though they've signed players and brought in all the guys he wanted, one of those two could very well be the first one to get the boot.
Yeah. I'm curious to see. That's always like a fun little side quest during the Premier League season. Who's going to be the first one to get the sack? Because I don't think any of the bottom teams sack their managers right off the bats. I think it'll be a struggling mid to top team. Dude, right now, dude, you got to think Pochettino, like you said, Ten Hag's a decent shout with everything going on. I don't think he's handling it in the best way. It's obviously a tough situation, but that'll be fun to watch to see who will be the first one gone. And right now, I still am leading Pochettino. Well, I don't think it's his fault, but I just think they will have a knee-jerk reaction because of when you spend all that money, you expect instant results like that, but that's not how it works. I'm backing him. I think Ten Hag's a decent shout. Who would be another fun one? Eddie Howe.
I mean, I'm looking back at our Vendetta Sports Media Premier League Roundtable head of the season, and that was one of the questions Jared Prosser had us talk about and discuss on there. Was the first manager to be mutually consented, like to leave? I went with Paul Heckingbottom of Sheffield United.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just reloaded. Do you remember who you went with?
Nah, let's have a peep.
Okay, sorry. This whole thing just down. So I got it right. I got it right here.
You got it?
Yeah. I'm Paul Heckingbottom. You went with. Oh, you also went with Heckingbottom.
Yeah. Which, I mean, still could happen.
Still could.
But I didn't think.
Oh.
I was just gonna say I didn't think Sheffield United would struggle like they're doing right now. When we're going through the.
Yeah, they haven't looked good at all, but we'll see. Other names that were thrown around: David Moyes,
No.
Roy Hodgson,
Nope.
and Sean Dyche, who I could see Sean Dyche being sacked by Everton.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good shout right now. That could be one of the first ones. I feel like if any of the bottom teams were to were to do it, it would be Everton.
100%. Jackson, any other news or anything you want to talk on in relation to this Premier League season so far, this upcoming week?
Not a lot going on. Wow, Chelsea near $500 million investment on a new stadium. That's interesting. But no, I mean, it is worth shouting that suddenly Chelsea's interested in Aaron Ramsdale. So kind of find that funny. But no, not a lot going on. I'm just kind of excited to see what happens this week with the North London derby. So
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after, I will say one more thing of news. Martin Odegaard gets a contract extension for Arsenal. So that's big, keeping the captain there for a little bit longer at least.
yeah.
We'll see. But lots of games, 10 games again this weekend. 5 Saturday, 5 Sunday. Should be fun. Should be some very worth watching ones. Ones that might fly under your radar. I just want to put out there. Fulham Crystal Palace. I think that could be an underrated one. 9th and 10th in the table. Just very even teams. One Brentford Everton, because Everton we've been talking about needs a win. Brentford hasn't looked overly superb the last couple weeks, but definitely we saw what they did last season, at least in the first half of it. That could be a spicy matchup. Otherwise, I think everything's relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Bournemouth doesn't overly enthuse. Newcastle, they haven't been great. They play Sheffield United, so maybe that's another must-win. Put them almost on board with. It's weird. It seems like they're just different than Man United and Chelsea. I still have that same preseason expectations, finish in the Champions League, but no one's really talking about, oh, Newcastle's falling apart, yada yada yada. Whereas Man U, Chelsea, what the collapse, what's happened.
Well, I feel like part of it is the money Chelsea's been throwing, the fact they were terrible last year, and Man U's the on the field issues.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's still too early to make knee-jerk decisions, to make these serious assumptions. So that's why Newcastle, I think, is getting the benefit of the doubt. But United, obviously, with everything else going on. Plus, the United and Chelsea fan bases demand more. So that's another key element of it. So I don't know. Dude, Newcastle needs to pick it up, though, because they have not been very good this year. Bar that opening day game, I have not been super impressed with them. So they need to get something going.
No.
Good opportunity against Sheffield United, though.
Yes, it is. I mean, even that opening day one, it was an Aston Villa team that's deceived at times how good they really could be and how down to earth they are. So take that with a grain of salt. Jackson, any final words before I let you go? We wrap this one up.
Nothing on my end. Looking forward. Everyone watch the North London derby.
Oh, yeah. Definitely going to be one to watch. Game of the week on our side of things. That was our match of the week. Thank you guys for watching. Go and check out all of the other Vendetta Sports Media coverage, whether it's at our website, vendettasportsmedia.com, YouTube channel, Twitter page. Follow along with us and all of our colleagues as we get the world of sport going. Football, both footballs are in season. Hockey starts next week. Basketball shortly after. Baseball playoffs. We got you all covered. Thank you for watching. It's called football. See you next week.